you brought us in and why you love
Yeah,
us?
yeah, I will. So, guys, thank you all for being here. Everybody that we've opened this up to, of course, our Momentum family, and then I have a couple other folks here that I've extended this to, that are thinking about joining the Momentum family, which would be great. Um, I guys, I know that there's a lot of you out there that should be getting corporate speaking gigs. You should be doing this. It can be great money, but very few people know how to break into it. Very few people understand what it takes, and there's not a ton of people out there. There's not, I mean, there's probably more corporate speaking opportunity than there are people actually filling it in the valuable way that Stephen and Aaron are going to talk to you about today. So I saw Aaron and Stephen give this presentation a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, my whole group needs to hear this because it's super. What they covered in like I don't know, a 90-minute, maybe 2 hour span was so just like light bulb, right? It was just all like, it was like light bulb after light bulb after light bulb because these guys are actually out there doing it. They're actually out there getting their clients doing it. And what they're going to share with you guys today is some insights that I think for any of you that have done any corporate speaking or have been attempting to do it, you're going to have several really big aha moments here, because these guys are actually approaching corporate speaking in a little bit of a different way, and it freaking works. So, without further ado, I want you guys to get the most out of this 90 minutes that we have. So I'm going to turn it over to Aaron and Steven and let you guys take it away.
Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, Jenny and I've done quite a lot together over the years. I mean, I think we met during COVID, so which is really weird, right?
Yeah, I think we met on the marketers cruise, and then so back in the day when Kimberly and I first started Speakers Playhouse, Aaron came and presented at like a couple. You were on a bunch of our summits, and then you came and actually presented at a bunch of our in-person events for like a year. It was really
Yeah,
fun.
it has been fun. So I'm excited to be here. This is going to be great. Stephen, I'm going to let you run the waiting room so I don't have to look at that.
Yep.
And I'm
Yep.
going to jump in. So, guys, we're excited to have you. I mean, this is some of the greatest things. I know that I'm going to get all these things out of my way. Click from the beginning. There we go. That these are the things that Stephen and I have been working on for a really long time. And we've been doing it with our clients for years. We've been doing it ourselves for years. But man, did we stumble and fall and figure out all the things that didn't work. And so what we thought was when Stephen and I came together, we were like, we both teach this in such a different way and different avenues. Stephen will go through some of this, but Stephen went through the really traditional routes. And I had no experience in corporate at all. I was a social worker. I went to school to be a therapist, and then I was coaching. I had no idea how to do anything inside of corporate. So for me, I always looked for the gray areas, thinking outside the box. How do you get in if you don't know anybody? How do you get in? What do they need? What do they need to see from you? So we're excited to break this down for you guys. Literally, you will have things that you can go out and implement as soon as you're done with this today. So our goal is to share the proven secrets to landing corporate clients that we've been using and our clients have been using for years. And what makes this different is we are going to give you real world tactics and strategies and that we use today. And even with AI, we've even implemented things that have even gone even better and even bigger because of AI, which has been helpful for a lot of us and cut a lot of the time. There's so much time consuming when I first got started to now with AI making things so much easier and being able to research companies, be able to find what they're looking for. So it's really not cold outreach, it's more warm outreach. So that's what's going to make this different. We're really going to give you some things that you can go out and implement. We also have a readiness assessment today. So you'll be able to take that while we're on the call to kind of see where you're at, engage how corporate looks at your materials and at what you're presenting with them and making sure that your offers are actually be sellable inside of corporate because it is a mind shift. If you've been doing entrepreneurship, like I have two different silos, entrepreneurship, teaching, speaking, TEDx, you name it over here, building money, building a business and speaking. And then I have the whole corporate side. And yes, I do corporate consulting, communications consulting, leadership coaching, executive presence, all of those things. So I do have two of those, but what I use over here and the language I use is so different than what I use here. The marketing materials are so different. Everything is siloed because it really does have to have its own look. And so I want to ask, does anyone have experience with corporate clients in here? Put a Y or an N in the chat so we can kind of gauge if you've done anything in corporate. If you used to work in corporate, even like let us know a little bit about, kind of your experience on what you've had as experience with in corporations. Like I said, I had none. So even if you've had none, not a big deal. Does not matter. That is not a prerequisite for this. So here are the three secrets we're going to share today. Working with five Fortune 500 companies without a contract. Like I said, this is one of my ways of kind of circumventing you have to become a vendor. Becoming a vendor can take 9 months. When I was working with the global channel chief of Microsoft, she's like, okay, well, we need to set you up as a vendor. And I was like, okay. And she's like, it takes about 9 months. And I'm like, well, don't you have to do this speech soon? Like, how is this going to work? But I circumvented that with a lot of other ways. And so we're going to share some of those today. Number two, we're going to talk about earning more with fewer clients with one service offerings. This is called the champions model. We call train the trainer kind of thing, and how this is giving you 6-figure deals every time. One of the things that I loved is when Stephen helped me understand that I could be doing a champions model with training the comms directors of corporations. It was really mind-blowing to me that every year I could start with a contract at $100,000 to be able to go out and roll this out within their company and with each department, right? So I started every year knowing I already hit 6 figures. So that's what the champions model is going to help you do. And then earning more with 5-figure events. How do you take some of these events, maybe conferences, maybe industry events and association events? How do you turn those into earning 5 figures? All right. But if you stay with us in the call, we have a whole bunch of things we're going to give you. You're going to get a proposal template. So you'll have what you need to put together in a proposal, how to land bigger corporations, and you'll get the professional speaker's guide to winning corporate clients. So you'll have some really good treats at the end of this. So I also wanted to be able to give you, I know, and I'm going to put this in now, but then I'm going to probably put it again in the end. But if there's anything during this time, you're like, man, I have a burning question, or I have something, I don't know, I'm not quite sure if my stuff will work with corporations, then you can feel free to jump on a call with me. I have some time on my calendar this week, but it would be great if you have those things, or you have some things that come up that you're like, I don't really know how this works for me. I'm happy to take that call and help you learn more about how maybe you could position that. So let's just talk about it. We have done a lot of things right. We've gotten results. That's why this is a repeatable system. Everything we're going to teach you, you can plug and play. And when we talk about what we do in our corporate accelerator, it's a 12-week program. Everything is plug and play. You really don't have to start from scratch. And that, I think, is doing it right. I think a lot of times what we've done things wrong is trying to figure it out, trying to go the long way, trying to set up every single thing separately, and not having a template to go from, not having understanding of what they really want from us and how they want it. And so we've kind of stepped through those landmines and did all the hard work for you so that you could not step on those landmines. So the hard way of all the ways that we've done this is you work hard for too little. I know a lot of people are looking at one-off speaking gigs in corporate, which is great. You can do that, but I'm going to tell you, you're leaving money on the table. And we'll talk more about that later. But if you don't have to chase speaking gigs all the time, and you have a more of a product suite, an offer suite inside of your corporations, you can be making so much more money for not as much work. The hard way is going to live events and not getting clients. I've been there, done that. I remember the first time I went to GreekWire, it was really difficult. I couldn't figure out how to navigate it. Most people are looking like I'm a generalist. I can help anyone, and not looking like an expert. And I will tell you, this is the biggest key in corporations. You have to be an expert in blank, whatever that is for you. But you have to have every one of your collaterals look like you're the expert. You speak like the expert. Your information looks like the expert. You really have everything in line so that they know with confidence that you're hireable. Some people are hiding playing small and become the best kept secret. I know that has been a problem for a lot of people and speakers in my world is they are the best kept secret and we don't want that. This is where I love when you get inside of corporations, they start referring you to other things as well. So you don't become you're no longer hidden and you can't play small when you're talking about Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. Some of you have submitted proposals and never heard a word. Yep, that happens a lot. It's probably because you're putting the proposal in front of them before they're ready to buy. And that's one of our secrets that we share with you. After doing this for 25 years, we understand that you do not need corporate experience. There's many ways to get into the decision maker. Stephen has sold 214,000 books in through corporate. He has it up on Amazon, but he doesn't really sell it on Amazon. He really sells it to these corporations. We're going to talk about how much money that corporations are spending on books. So if you have a book, you're in the right place. If you don't, you just need to create a framework that you're going to teach your information off of, and that's your book. And you can have AI help you do that really quickly. And we talk about the right ways to use proposals because a lot of times you just get ghosted and sell much more than speaking. This is the thing that I feel NSA does a very bad disservice. Sorry for all NSA members. I get it. I've spoken on many of them. But they're just like, go sell speaking, speak, 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 speak. But you have so much more to offer. And if you're always hustling for the one-off gig, it really is painful. But if you get in with a gig as maybe your marketing, your speech could be the front end offer that leads to longer in services. And that's where you can make the real money and not have to hustle and grind and find the next organization, the next association. All right. So we're going to give you all the shortcuts that we have used that have really, really helped us be able to do this and do it well. But not all results are typical. This isn't one of those where we're just going to teach you what it is and blah blah blah. We really are implementation strategists when it comes to this. We really help you look at your stuff and realize why it's working, why it's not working, and immediately tweak it so that you get the results you're looking for. But if you're just looking, you're like, oh yeah, one of those, I'll just go and pay for it and it'll just be easy. There is work to be done, but how much less work when you know exactly what to implement. And that's what we're going to do. So a little bit about me, for those who don't know me, I do see some smiling faces in here that I do know. But I have been an executive coach, a speaking coach. I work with TEDx. I've worked with a lot of companies and a lot of government agencies that have really taken my communication and leadership coaching and consulting to the next level. So I've coached hundreds of people on the TEDx stage. I haven't even updated this. It's way over hundreds. And I've been hired by Fortune 100 companies to speak and coach their executives: Boeing, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Expedia, Apple, Smartsheet, Warner Brothers. There's been a lot that I go in and I get to do this amazing work. And the fun part is I used to be a dolphin trainer. So even dolphin trainers can work inside of corporate. I really want you to see that I did not have any experience because I don't want anyone to go, well, you've been doing this. Aaron has so special. Steven's so special. He's been doing this stuff. He's sold all of this stuff inside of corporate. I want you to know, zero experience. Dolphin trainers can land gigs, okay? So let's start in with secret one. This has been one of my favorite things that I have done for years. It was probably the first, other than one-off executives, this was the way I really kicked the door open and exploded my business into the fact that I then had to train other people to go facilitate my workshops because every corporation, I couldn't do them all at the same time. There were so many throughout the week and they were all talking to each other. And I didn't realize how much inside marketing can be done with workshops, and then those all of those people who loved it go out and tell their friends in other companies, and then you just start getting flooded. So this is what kicked it off for me. I had a girlfriend of mine, she worked for Boeing. And she's like, Aaron, every time I see you speak at these events, GeekWire, some of these women in tech, women in cloud, I know that my team, the women in my organization need to hear this. And I'm like, okay, so what do we do? How do I propose this? Who do I talk to? Like, get me on a phone with somebody I can make it up as I go even. And she's like, here's what we need. So she sat down with me and she's like, here's what I need to do, what I need from you to be able to pitch to my boss. My boss will set up the room, set up the food, set up the, I was like, wait, you guys get food during this? And I don't have to do that? Like, I put on events, 3-day events. I was like, I just get to show up and look pretty and do my work. But it was true. They literally handled everything. So she got it all set up. She went and enrolled 10 to 12 women to be the first pilot through this workshop. And it was a 1-day workshop inside of Boeing, and it was beautiful. Women from all different parts of the company. It was feminine executive communication coaching, so it was definitely for the women. But I couldn't do a lot of people because I was recording them speaking at the beginning, and I was recording them speaking at the end, so that they could see the feedback and see how different they became just from this one day. And so it's really hard to be able to make sure everyone had time to do that. So I kept them really small. And that was great because then I kept going back and back and back, week after week after week, that I just kept doing these workshops. And so these workshops also helped me circumvent the big picture of getting things approved. So her boss approved the room and the time and the things. I said, well, how much should I charge for this? And she goes, here's the secret. Each one of us have a corporate card that we can spend $500 on. Now that's different in every company, so I always ask. $500 on or less, we don't have to get approval. If it's anything above that, we have to get approval, so it takes longer. I said, great, we'll just put it at $497. She's like, awesome. So they just, each one of them swiped their card for the workshop, and were able to come without any of the red tape, without a contract, without the vendor, without any of that. It really was beautiful. And so, when I started doing this, every single individual would just go out and enroll more people, because at lunchtime, while we're sitting around eating, they're like, well, here's the other thing. I know some other ladies that want to be in this. Do you think you could do this again? And I was like, yeah, of course. What would you need? Again, what would you need? Because I don't know. And they were like, well, can you just give us a flyer and we can hand them out and people can sign up? And then, and Amy goes, I'll be in charge of telling it to the person that got us this room and all of the things. I was like, okay. So they went and promoted it internally. They were so happy with what they got results out of and the experience. They wanted to enroll people. So I had an in person inside the corporation own marketing system where they started enrolling other women and other women and other women. And it became a big enough thing where all of a sudden the men were like, wait, what about us? And I said, I got that for you too. So then I created another one just for the men. So I want you to know that word of mouth inside of a corporation is essential. So you don't want to mess that up. I'm going to be honest. You want to be really good at what you do. And that's why I teach you to be good at what you do when you are in there, because you do want to be asked back. You don't want to burn bridges. I do know that there's coaches out there that teach you to just do a speech, and if it sucks, it doesn't matter. Go to the next one, the next one, the next one. This is not what we want. We want you to have long-term contracts with 6 figures up to 7 figures that you could be earning from one organization in a year. So this was Tangi. I got her very first workshop. She had only, from that workshop, she had like 15 people in it. She had 6 people join and netted her 75,000, her very first workshop she ever did. And so I want you to know, after you get inside with the workshop, you can sell into more of your programs, one-on-one, group. Ask them what would they like? What would be the next steps, knowing that you got all this information? What would you like me to create with you? Co-create it with them. Then they're bought in and it's easier for them to sell. So I would love to see in the chat, if you have a workshop that you think you could take in a corporate, just put what you think the title of your workshop would be inside of chat. I would love to be able to see some of those, because this is where the rubber hits the road. You're like, yeah, workshops sound great, but what would you do? What kind of, with your content and what you teach, and maybe even your speech, how do you take it deeper? How do you have a longer program where you could do a half-day workshop, a 2-day workshop, right? These are things that are really easy for you to take a one-off speaking gig into a longer workshop. All right, let me see here. Impact in corporate. Got it. Stuff beyond workshop. Oh, I like that. Optimize sustainable performance. Improv advantage. Yes, that's awesome inside of corporate. I have a client who is teaching. She was a stage actress coach for a really long time now. She's teaching speakers and she's doing this inside of corporate, bringing her theater background to the whole thing, which is awesome. Emotional intelligence for leaders, which they really need. It's a huge hot topic, especially inside of GeekWire and their magazines that they put out. Entrepreneurial finance mindset. The corporate teams. I like that. That sounds awesome. Okay. Oh, and then we have a friend of ours that, has worked with us many times. And she always said, I was always afraid of like these big ticket coaching items. And she's like, but you know what? She doubled my income. So I get excited when her invoices come through. And I thought that was really sweet because I've never thought about somebody being excited when they get my invoice. But let's lead it to Stephen. I want to highlight Stephen, get me off spotlight and bring Stephen on because Stephen is amazing in his own ways and he has done some things that are a little different than I have as well. So take it away, Stephen.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm glad to be here. So excited that you all are here. Wanted to just share a little bit about where I came from in terms of my corporate experience. So I started working at Walt Disney World straight out of college and had an entry-level position with them. And one of the opportunities happened where I was able to work at Disney University in the training role. And I fell in love with speaking in that day of working with Disney University. And so I got the bug to do it and really pursued it from then on. And then from 2001, I have been out on my own as an independent consultant and doing change management consulting as well as professional speaking, keynote speaking, doing workshops of all types and working with corporations. I've worked with 24 Fortune 500 companies. I've also worked with several hundred other companies throughout the country in about 11 different industries. So my journey started off with this notion of selling a single speech and then finding another client, and then selling a single speech and then finding another client. And one of the things that you want to know, just as bonus for today, is that if you're going to do speaking in corporate, one of the exciting things is that they expect your fee for your keynote speech or for your workshop to be $10,000 because that's the number that conveys that you are a professional at what you do and you are really worth the investment. And so that's a number that's been around forever, but basically the minimum you want to be charging for corporations, especially large corporations, is $10,000. So from this journey, what I ended up building when I was single back in the early 2000s was I built basically a job for myself. And I'm not sure if you can relate to this, but I ended up just doing speech after speech after speech. I would get in airplanes, I would travel. Sometimes it would be 2 days worth of travel just to do the one event. And what I woke up to was realizing in my third year that I had traveled 210 days out of the year in order to do what I was doing. And I said, there's got to be a better way. After 3 years of doing that, I said, there's got to be a better way. And I met Simon T. Bailey, who's a Hall of Fame speaker in National Speakers Association. And Simon T. Bailey shared with me that he had done 14 talks with Toyota, the same company, in 3 different countries, all in the same year. And I said, wait a second, you've done 14 talks for the same company in 3 countries. How in the world do you do that? And the fundamental thing he said was, you simply ask. Just ask. That's basically what you do, is provide what you're offering, but then make the ask. And what he meant by that was most speakers just think about the one client, the one opportunity they have, and they don't think about offering additional speeches or different opportunities, different workshops beyond what they're offering. So I said to myself, I think I can do this. And so I came up with a whole different approach. So here's what I'd like you to consider. And it's called the champions model. And Aaron, if you'll simply go to the next slide, what you'll see is a question that's going to change your business forever. So here's the idea. You're talking to a client prospect, and they're talking to you to hire you as a speaker. And what I would always do is I would always position myself as an expert consultant who happened to love speaking rather than presenting myself as just a speaker. And so what I did was I would say to the client, well, let me ask you a question. Aren't you tired of hiring a speaker? They come into your organization. They make your audience laugh. They make them cry. Then they make them laugh again. But then when the speech is over, they leave and nothing changes. And the client will always say, well, yes, you're right. That is one of the challenges with speakers, is that it's a great event, but nothing changes afterwards. So the follow-up question, which is what changed my life from Simon T. Bailey's help, was, wouldn't you rather have an asset? Wouldn't you rather have an asset? And so corporate executives love assets, and they're like, yes, of course. Tell me more. What do you mean by an asset? And so by assets, what I said was, well, instead of just hiring me to come in and do 3 keynote speeches for your audience, because you have 6,700 employees at Cooper University Medical Center, let me actually train and certify 30, 40, or 50 of your people inside your organization from all different departments throughout the hospital, and let me train them to be champions of the initiative. So the initiative was, they wanted to redesign new hire orientation, and they wanted to improve their first 100 days of onboarding new employees. And so it was both new hire orientation and the onboarding process. And I said, well, instead of just being totally dependent on me and having me do all of the work, how great would it be if you simply had 30, 40, or 50 of your people certified as champions, and they were the ones conducting the new version of new hire orientation? So now your human resources department is not the only person making the presentations during orientation, during those 3 full days of new hire orientation. Or imagine having champions throughout the entire organization in all the different departments that are champions for the onboarding of new hires. And so now it's not just their manager that's responsible for onboarding the new hires. And so with this concept, what you end up with is a team within the organization that are, just as it says, champions of what you're doing. But what's exciting is the economics of it all. And so if you'll go to the next slide, what I want to just share with you is, and go to the next one, using this as an example. So you have, wouldn't you rather have an asset? You identify 50 champions. You train the trainer for the champions, meaning that you're going to provide the training of what you would be doing. You would provide that for the champions, and then you would deploy the champions through the organization. The economics of this is rather interesting, because if you want to jot this down, you're able to actually charge $2,500 to $4,000 per champion to be certified in training your material. So when you start looking at that, even at just $2,500 a person, and you do 10 champions, you're looking at $25,000. So with 40 champions, you're looking at $100,000. Yet the amount of work to do that same amount of training is not that much. And so it's incremental growth in terms of the amount of work that's required, but it's exponential growth as it relates to how many people they're investing to have serve as champions. So on the next slide, what you'll see are some examples. Okay, they're not there. No problem.
Oh, you
I'll
have it
give
this
you,
one.
that's fine. I'll give you some examples of what a champions model could be. So you could have customer service champions. You could have leadership development champions. There you go. You could have cost savings champions, productivity champions. Just take a look at this list, and what you'll realize is your topic probably fits within one of these initiatives. So there's communications, engagement, wellness, profitability, leadership and team development, efficiency, performance, innovation, productivity. There's all different ways to position. And this is one of the things that we help you do, is help you translate what your expertise is, and then how do you translate that into the corporate language, into the corporate world, into the corporate ecosystem, so that they can then see the value of your work as a champion. And so one of the things to think about with the champions model is you're creating massive financial leverage for yourself. You're making a greater impact in the organization by training so many people. But then here's what's also exciting about the champions model. Typically, at the end of the first year, the client is so excited that they want to then certify a new group of champions for year number 2. And I did this with hundreds of hospitals over a 12-year period, hundreds of hospitals throughout the United States. And my average client would do champions model for 3 years. And the reason was, once they saw the value of basically re-recruiting their best people, right? So going to their best people and saying, we'd like you to be a champion. They found that this was a really wonderful way to re-recruit their best people. And so it became an employee engagement strategy and a way to retain their best people. So you end up with year 2 and year 3. So just as Aaron mentioned, starting out the year with a $100,000 agreement, imagine if you're in year 2 and year 3 with some of your clients, and then you're still enrolling new champions models as well. And so the financial leverage is huge. And so that is the big picture with the champions model. What I'd love for you to do is put in the chat, um, what
Oh
would be the
boy.
topic, what would be the topic that you would want to bring to corporate as it relates to a champions train the trainer model. So what is the work that you would do, but also what's the impact you would have? So think about, would you impact productivity? Would it be profitability? Would it be service, customer service? Would it be um, employee engagement, retention, turnover? Where is it that your work would actually make an impact in the train the trainer model? Just take a moment. I'm going to look here. Okay, employee morale, leadership, corporate shift, wellness, performance, leadership, leadership managers as coaches. Great. And then I love these other responses from earlier as well. These are all great. So the opportunity really is quite extraordinary to be able to leverage the champions model in what you're doing with a train the trainer. And the real value, as I said a minute ago, is the company sees that they're making an investment that's going to last over time because the investment is staying within their people. And so that's a really great benefit of doing the champions model. Here's one example. Dr. Mike Thompson was a leadership coach and a leadership speaker, and he ended up working with a construction company, didn't have to know anything about construction, the business itself. What he knew about was his expertise around leadership and team development. And what he was able to do was land a champions model with a corporate construction company and was able to land a $190,000 champions model, train the trainer. And this champions model for him was the largest single client project that he had ever had. And it was all because of the champions model. And notice he didn't have to be an expert in construction. Now we also have Matt Silverman. Matt Silverman actually wrote a book about the Champions model. It's called Champions Networks, if you want to check it out. It's Champions Networks, and it talks about in detail about how to do the Champions model. But he studied under us, and one of the things that's neat about Matt is he does a lot of work in compliance. He's an attorney and does a lot of work in legal compliance. And what he did was he created champions in this compliance world. And one of the things he did as a part of our accelerator was he ended up landing Home Depot and did a 6-figure champions model with Home Depot. And then I've since talked to him, and he has 2 new clients that he's working with as well, just purely with the champions model.
Stephen, why don't you
So
talk about 5-figure events? Because this is going to be also something that's going to be mind blowing for these people.
absolutely. So if you go to the first slide on 5-figure events, what you'll see is it's really referred to as the 5-figure way. But here's the context. The context is you are hired to come in and do a speech by an association, but they say that we can't pay you anything, but we want you to come in and do a speech for the association, and we want you to speak for free. The other version is, and you can't quote sell from stage in order to leverage your experience, but you want to get paid in order to do that. The other version is you're talking to a business and they're going to bring you in to do a single talk, but you want to see a way to monetize the opportunity well beyond just simply getting paid for one talk. So the very first one to think about is pre-conference or post-conference monthly webinars for the 3 months prior to the conference. So the concept being you have, let's say it's February as it is now, and you have this conference coming up in May. So now you've got March and April leading up to the May conference. So what you would do is a pre-conference webinar is you would offer a webinar once in March and once in April leading up to the May conference. And then you would also offer a post-conference webinar that would be in June and July after the conference was over, because the whole concept here is that you want to be seen by the audience prior to the event so that you can build know, like, and trust with your audience, but also they can experience your expertise. And so now what you're able to do is add on this pre or post conference monthly webinar for the 3 months prior to the conference. Now, you can also charge for this and therefore get paid anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 per webinar in most cases for the series of pre-event webinars or post-event webinars. The other thing you can do, which we can talk about through all of this, is you can also talk about corporate sponsors, but I'll save that till the end to talk about the corporate sponsorship model. The second opportunity is the pre-conference workshop. So imagine there's a live conference going on. It's happening on a Wednesday, Thursday, and half of Friday. And so it starts on a Wednesday at, let's say, 1 in the afternoon, which is typically what people are doing. And people are flying in the morning of. And so the conference starts at 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. What you do is you promote that there's a pre-conference workshop the morning of Wednesday, so Wednesday morning. So people fly in the day before and they go to this pre-conference workshop, which is now an opportunity for a half-day workshop to experience you and your expertise as a part of the conference experience. What's exciting about pre-conference workshop is the event producer or the business is going to pay you for the pre-conference workshop, and there's a couple ways they'll do it. One, when they're selling tickets to their conference, they'll then sell pre-conference workshop tickets. And so therefore you share the revenue of the tickets that are sold for the pre-conference workshop, or you simply get paid for the pre-conference workshop. So very first thing you think about is pre-conference webinars or post-conference webinars. Next layer is a pre-conference workshop. And then the other version is a post-conference workshop. So on that final day, typically on Friday, the organizations will finish their conferences typically around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then people get home and they get to the airport and fly home. What you can do is you can have a post-conference workshop, again, advertised for you for months prior to the conference occurring. And so people book those extra tickets, and so then you have a post-conference workshop. So now you've got 4 fundamental ways: pre-conference webinar, post-conference webinar, the pre-conference workshop, and the post-conference workshop. You've got 4 different ways that you can get paid. Now, the other things that are exciting are you can also do breakout sessions and get paid to do breakout sessions. You can also offer to be an MC of the event, which some people do this as along with their speaking business. And then the really exciting one, which you could do just by itself, that's very exciting, is a conference wrap-up session. What you do is you tell the event producer that you are going to be the last speaker of the entire event. And what you're going to do is you're going to give everybody the opportunity to look through all of their notes of all the different breakout sessions they went to, look through all the business cards they collected and all the networking they did, and you're going to help them organize their thoughts and their notes from all of the work they did at the conference so that they can get the most out of the conference. And so now you're the last speaker of the entire event and you're getting to see them. So just envision if you did, just as a simple example, pre-conference webinars. So people got to see you once or twice, maybe 3 times before the conference. Then they saw you at your breakout session during the conference. And then they hear that you are doing the wrap-up session at the very end of the conference. So now all of a sudden you realize that you've had 4 or 5 touches with the audience, 4 or 5 different ways to interact with the audience in support of you getting the word out about what you're doing and who you are, and then also adding value for the conference. The final conference wrap-up session is very powerful because, as it says, you are the wrap-up speaker. And so people that have been following you through the conference will actually come to you at the end of the conference and will share with you all kinds of feedback. But also, this is where people will walk up to you and they'll want to hire you because they've seen you through the entire show or the entire experience. So there's a couple ways to do this. One is the company pays you for these additional services. So you offer these as additional services beyond just the talk that you're going to give the company. And so you monetize it that way. Another version is you get corporate sponsors. So companies that are already serving as sponsors at the conference event, at the association event, and you'll see them on the website for the conference, and it'll say diamond, platinum, gold sponsors. And what you do is you simply have the event producer, the association as an example, have them tell you which 1 or 2 of those sponsors would most likely be interested in sponsoring you as a speaker based on your topic. And then you talk to those corporate sponsor companies as the opportunity to do a breakout session that would be paid for by the sponsor. And then as a simple example, all you would do literally is you would put the company's logo in the bottom right corner of your PowerPoint slides. And then somebody from the company would potentially do a 90-second or 2-minute introduction of you at the beginning of your breakout session. So they get credit as the company sponsoring you. And then you would do your regular breakout session. So this creates multiple ways to have multiple touches with the audience, but also multiple ways to monetize what was otherwise considered a free event or a low paid event, and turning it into a multiple income stream opportunity. And so this to leverage, and it's something that most speakers don't think about. They don't think about the opportunities that they have to add these different touch points through the experience. What I'm curious is, when you think about this, you may think it's daunting, or you may think that it's very expansive in terms of what it takes to pull this off. Actually, it's about conversations. Just like Aaron mentioned earlier about working in collaboration with your client and co-creating content, what you want to think about is these conversations are just that. They're conversations about how can I best support you. So one example of this is Dennis had written a book called Drama-Free Teams. And what we did was we found an HR company, a human resources company, that wanted to work with a lot more hospitals. So we created Drama-Free Teams in healthcare as a specialized book specific to healthcare. And then the company put their name on the front cover of the book. So it says the company's name presents, and then Drama-Free Teams in healthcare. And the foreword of the book was written by the CEO of the company, the sponsor company. And so then what they did was they purchased 6,000 copies of the book. They hired Dennis to do 5 speeches at 5 different hospital CEO association meetings. So he got paid to do all 5 of his speeches. They bought 6,000 copies of his book, and then they paid for all of his travel to the 5 events. And then what they did was they did book launches at each of the 5 events, and he did book signings at their booth. After his talk, and during the expo, people would stop by, get a copy of his book, and he would autograph them and talk to people. So that's a corporate sponsorship model that really, really works with your books and leveraging corporate speaking.
We want to jump into what are corporations buying. So now we kind of went through some of these things. Oops, I'm clicking on buttons and I'm not even touching them. I just put my pen down. But I wanted to go through some of the other things that you need to be thinking about of what other corporations are buying. And so I wrote down some examples as well. So corporations value someone who can reveal their blind spots, and an audit is the best way to identify these areas for improvement. Corporations love audits and are willing to pay well for them. So McKesson Corporation, based in Irving, Texas, their annual revenue is $359 billion. You can charge at least $60,000 for an audit. You come in, give me your top 10 executives, and let's audit what's going wrong. Let's audit what's not working. Give me the sales team. Well, if your sales are down, you want more sales, let me audit your sales team. You're going in and doing that to see where you can find what are the areas that they need improvement on. But so same with an assessment. An assessment is where you're examining areas of improvement, where an assessment evaluates how efficient systems are, processes, and strategic plans are established for success. So Robert Bush is based in Germany. Their annual revenue is 98.9 billion in euros, and people are charging $60,000 for an assessment. Same thing as an audit assessment. You can go in and do an assessment. And most of you have an offering where an assessment is a great way for you to prove to the company that this is needed and desired. This is the beautiful thing about assessments. You go in and you assess, you give an assessment to all these, the top managers or whatever it is. And then you say, based on the feedback, here's what's missing. Here's what's not working. Here's what we can do to fill those gaps. And you being the expert in that. Now, if you also find gaps that you don't do, It's beautiful because when we're in our corporate accelerator, we have a lot of different people who do different things. Maybe you want someone else to come in and do compliance. Maybe compliance is a thing. So then you could meet up with one of our clients and be like, "Hey, Matt, I got a referral for you. They are looking for this," and then you bring him in as a part of your team. I have somebody, and you do. Here's the secret behind the scene. Matt, what do you charge? 10. Okay, I'm going to charge 11, and then I'm going to keep the $1,000 referral fee. He'd say, great, because I just sold him for him. He did nothing. All he'll do is show up as one of your team members and help do that part of the program if you find a gap in your own experience. That's the beautiful thing. Speakers get speakers gigs. Speakers get gigs inside a corporate to each other. The old way, I will be honest, the old bro marketing way was, although the good old boys club would be like, hey, you liked me, I was a great consultant, thank you so much, here's like 5 of my best friends, here's the next 5 hires you need. And they're like, okay, great, because a lot of the people that were bringing in speakers and trainers and consultants, they didn't know where to look. And I'll be honest, one of the trainers that I talked to at Microsoft, who was a friend of mine, we played on a softball team, I said, where do you look? And she said, Thumbtack. And I was like, wait, that's a side gig worker thing. Like, why would you look there for experts? Well, I don't know where to search. And I sat down and had to teach her where to search. So many of these people don't know. So by going in with this estimate, you're telling them what the problem is and how you can solve it. Now, something that Stephen did really well, he's sold bulk orders of his books. Like I said, it's on Amazon, but he orders the books for himself and he sends them off to the company with KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, sends them off, and he has sold over 214,000 books inside of corporations. So how would you like to have an asset that you could sell inside of a corporation and maybe never show up? Or why not that be a different line item than just your speaking? My speaking fee is this. You can buy the books for everyone with this amount. And that way you're making more money. People love to go home with something in their hands, right? After hearing you speak. So give them, like, have the company buy that. It's a different line item. In events, in budgets, there is a different line item for books, training materials, supplies, different things like that. So now all of a sudden they might only have, say your normal speaking fee is 10 grand, and they only have 7,500 to pay you. Instead of just taking the 7,500, I'm like, so I normally charge 10. So how could we make that up? How can we make up that difference? Now that is what a professional looks like. A person who's kind of like, okay, I'll just take it. Just looks like they're just sitting around doing nothing, right? So you want to appear like, okay, so how do we bridge this gap? So you're like, well, it's great. You can order, how many people do you have in your company? Great. Let's order a whole bunch of books for them. What's in that budget? They're like, oh, great. We have like 60 million in that area. Right? So listen to this. One way corporations educate their employees is buying bulk purchase books. Corporations purchase books in tens of thousands. This is not new. Corporations have been always purchasing books. About 100 billion in corporate budgets are set aside for books. What the heck? You have a book, right? If you have a book, you're already in. Right? So Manpower Group, based in Milwaukee, their annual revenue is 20 billion. They get $100 per book, minimum order, 6,000 books. Now, I have a book on Kindle. I know, Stephen, how much do you sell your guide, your strategic guide? How much do you sell it on Amazon?
Sure. So my personal action guide is $24.95 on Amazon. And then what I do with corporate is I sell it for $9 or $11 each. And so
it only costs you like 4 or 2, right? To actually print them.
$2.08 fully printed. Yep.
Yeah. So look at that big gap you can make up. And when this person sold this, they had a minimum order of 6,000 books. So 6,000 books times 100. You tell me, it's worth selling a book and creating one. You can sell digital assets, information products. Here's an untapped. This is the newer way. I know we've all been giving away freebies and doing this stuff in the regular entrepreneur space, but I'll tell you, these people, they want PDFs, they want digital guides on the topic that you teach. They want internal blog posts, webinars, videos, PDFs. So why not get paid for the digital content that you've already created? Like that is the beautiful thing about this. Apollo Management out of New York City, their annual revenue is 26.1 billion and you can charge $40,000 per digital content guide. Like guys, like you're leaving money on the table, right? These are things you've already created. Now, one of the other things I think is interesting is you can also sell a virtual or in-person Q&A session. This is where you go in and you sit down and they allow employees to ask you questions about your topic. Now, some of the beautiful things is they're looking at how do we use AI inside of our company? How do I use it not to just write my emails? How do I write it? Because it is different when an entrepreneur uses AI for creating content, creating posts, creating all this stuff. But in corporations, they don't know that access because they're not creating it for their business. So you can go in and do one of these in-person or virtual things. And I will tell you, Abbott Laboratories out of Illinois, their annual revenue is 41.9 billion. And then they pay $75,000 per one Q&A off session. This type of Q&A is similar to how you answer questions during a webinar at the end of, if you do a panel speech, whatever. These are the kind of questions. They're just throwing questions at you. If you're good on the fly and you know your content well, this is worth the money. Now, one of the other things is that I love is talking about online courses. Do you already have an online course? Well, guess what? Normally I charge like $197 for an online course by itself, right? Maybe $397 for it. But I will tell you, Costco, which I love, is based in Issaquah. Oops, I'm touching buttons again. Costco, their revenue is $275 billion, and they charge $18,000 per license per employee per year. Licensing courses allows you to create passive income in corporations. And if they see your stuff, what I love to add inside my courses is if you're struggling with this, book a call with me. Upsell to working with me one-on-one, right? Like if this is a struggle, maybe we should get together and have all of you do this as a team. Now it's group coaching, a higher end product. So these are things that I want you to start thinking about. Now, speaking, like we always said, it's like chasing one off all the time. But usually, if you speak at events or conferences, one of the most profitable speaking models is just corporate speaking. You automatically need to charge 10 grand or above. So right now, as of today, you do not charge less than 10 grand if you were asking for a speaking gig instead of corporate. You will be laughed at. If Stephen and my, one sheet were side by side, we said the exact same thing. Everything was the same, except our pictures were different and our price was different. Say his was 5 and mine was 10. They don't look at it as if they want a discount. They look at it as someone who values themselves and knows their worth and knows the expertise they bring. All right. So from now on, you only charge $10,000 because they will hire me over Steven. It's the simple thing is, what's the catch? What's wrong? Maybe this person isn't good enough. I don't know. They start questioning. You don't want these corporate buyers to have questions about you. So think about this. Goldman Sachs did it again. Goldman Sachs, based in New York City, their annual revenue is 53.5 billion, and they actually pay $125,000 per speech. That's just one speech. That's not, and if you want to keep going to different offices, you can lower it to be like, okay, so I'll do 80,000 for all of your locations. Think about this. Microsoft has locations all around the world. What if you just had that one client and all you did was go for that whole year, just travel to all the different Microsoft offices at $80,000 a pop? Would that be worth it? I think so. So out of the 3 things that we talked about today, I want you to put in the chat, what do you think would work best for you right now? These are only 3 things that we're talking about today. We have so much more that we talk about in our 12-week, but let's think about this. Which one right now, if you could pull the trigger and start selling today, put in the chat. Is it secret 1, secret 2, or secret 3? We'd love to see what your responses are. And I'll have to get into chat so I can see. 2. Yeah. Champions model. I'm telling you guys, if you can start off the year with a champions model, I'm telling you, it makes us so much easier. Then, everything else, you're like, it's all cake after that, right? And the beautiful thing is those can sell off into one-on-ones. Those can sell off into a lot of things. You can go back year after year after year. Think about this. When I was training corporate comms directors, right? So all these comms directors, they all work with different executives. Well, sometimes those executives move or those people get sent moved to a different executive. Well, they struggled with, well, this one was really great. I got them really great at this and that. But this one, oh man, he really needs to overcome ums and ahs. He kind of struggles. I don't know what to do. Well, they bought my vault of information, my online course, as a part of the licensing program for them to be champions. And so they have it. Oh, okay, go to that video. Oh, coming over ums and ahs. Oh, great. There's a resource for me. So they don't have to feel like they don't know. Do you know that comms directors, I did not know this. I was blown away. I thought comms directors were like just as good as I am, but I do teaching people to speak. They're not. The one for Gabrielle Schuster, who was my client, her director of comms was a former online or on TV journalist. So he was the weather guy, right? And so he could read a teleprompter. He could write it because he could write a really good speech. He was really good at writing speeches. He was writing her 20 speeches for a 4-day um, corporate industry event in Las Vegas. They do Microsoft Inspires 4 days. She had 20 different speeches to have to memorize, but not really memorize, because how do you memorize 20 speeches? You don't. So she had to read on cue cards and all of that, which makes her look less prepared. When I went in and I told him, like, you could teach them to, like, here's your stories, here's the main things you want to share, then they're not recreating a new speech. Mind blowing. That's when I was like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. I could certify them. So thinking about that for yourself in that champions model, what could you teach these people that they could keep doing? Because what I did was I saved the company money. This is what the corporate buyer sees. Each one of those executives was paying 20 to 60,000 a year for one-on-one coaching, being coached as a speaking coach. But if I bring it in-house, they don't have to pay that. So they're only paying me to be certified, but then they're all their own people doing it, right? It's really great to be able to have that. So one of the other bonuses in here, I know we have this in the secret four. So you want to talk about this, Stephen, because it's your book. And we talked a
Sure.
little bit about it so far.
Sure. So the concept is, imagine taking the best of the book that you've already written, or if you haven't written a book, imagine putting together a list of exercises, checklists, self-assessments, chapters on different topics, exercises, team exercises, personal exercises. Think about all the different things that you could put together into a personal action guide rather than calling it a book. You call it a personal action guide. And you put this list of checklists and self-assessments and all of this together. My personal action guide is only 78 pages long, believe it or not. It's only 78 pages long. I started in 2010, listed it on Amazon for $24.95 each. I never cared about a sales rank with Amazon because it was never about being a bestseller. And I never even cared about reviews on the book on Amazon because that's not why I did it. Why I did it was to establish in the marketplace that the personal action guide was available for $24.95 a piece. Then what I did was I simply said, if you buy them in bulk, I can get them to you for only $11 or only $9 a piece. And they only cost $2.08 fully printed and shipped. And so you start looking at earning $7 and $9 a book. And I'll give you an example. So Pfizer Logistics had me come in to Memphis and I spoke to 200 of their managers. And I said, why don't you get 220, so 10% more? Why don't you get 220 copies of the personal action guide for all of your managers? And now what you have is you have a resource that your managers can use for their own daily huddles or their own weekly huddles with their team members using the information and the tools that are inside the personal action guide. So now what you're doing is the personal action guide is the resource that they have after you're long gone, after your speech is over. Now they have a tool that they can use that uses your expertise in a variety of ways. So checklists, self-assessments, exercises, it can have chapters. So for instance, in my book, there's a chapter on what makes the Disney difference. And it's my perspective on the leadership culture at Disney and what makes Disney's leadership culture so strong. I also have a chapter called Stop, Start, Continue, which is a best practice on how to collect feedback from your staff in a stop, start, continue feedback exercise. And so I give you the entire blueprint of how to do a stop, start, continue conversation. And that's one of the chapters in the book. So the concept is the personal action guide becomes an extension of you after you're long gone.
But I was just stopping this because I need to grab the link. But I think these are some great things that maybe you've thought about, maybe you haven't implemented, but you're like, I have these assets. Why wouldn't I already do this? Right. And so let me go back to the slides now that I opened up the wrong thing. And you can take the stuff that you've already created and now just shift it over to a different audience. So in the past hour, would you agree it's been well spent, time well spent? You've delivered on a promise to really help you. The difference is acquiring the skills and the confidence. So we want to see where you're at. So I'm going to put in the chat, there's a quick little assessment for you to take while we're in here. And this is the corporate authority diagnostic. It's kind of looking at what you already have and is it sellable? Is it marketable? Does it, to a corporate buyer, does it look enticing? Okay, so we're going to take a few minutes to do that. I'm just going to kind of talk through this. This diagnostic replaces guessing with clarity. Like you've got to have clarity on how are you being perceived in the marketplace. It shows you exactly where your readiness is broken down and like maybe where you need to work on some stuff. It also helps you see where your authority is strong and where opportunities might be quietly stalling, because a lot of times, like we say, it can be ghosted. What's actually missing for your larger engagements, maybe you've been doing speaking, but you didn't know what was missing in the larger area for engagements. Instead of wondering why deals don't move forward, in this diagnostic, you'll be able to see where buyers feel confident saying yes, hesitation may be being created that you don't even know, and which dimension is limiting your growth. So a lot of times people just guess, I need better marketing, or maybe I'm not good at my confidence. I need more visibility. But what if it's just in your expert positioning, in the things that you sent to them, that they couldn't see the clarity in what you offered? Okay. So that's where this is going to help you. It's going to show you where your message is solid, where your offer feels incomplete. It can show your positioning can create risk for the buyer, and it can show up if you don't have follow-up systems and momentum. So take a few minutes, and then when you get your score, put it in the chat.
Hey, Erin,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with the link, at least for me. It looks like
Oh,
somebody's typing in and editing your headlines, and then I can't actually get into to actually
interesting.
answer anything. It's
Okay.
like it's in edit mode and you
Okay.
can't
Yeah,
answer.
it's not
Let me
published. You
give
have
you
to,
the, okay, I got it. I must have, I just copied the wrong link. Hold on. Let me do
No
that right.
worries.
Thank you for that. That one should work because it's not an editor now. I think when I pulled it up, it was still an edit.
No worries.
So just click on the link for the new link that I put in there and start filling out the form. Leslie, does that make sense to you? The second one I just put in. You can unmute yourself. I can't.
Yes, I'm in the document, but is this based on what you've shared with us today?
Some of this is, yes. So just looking at some of your stuff, it's giving you a higher perspective based on your own, what you've already created, or maybe you haven't yet. And if you haven't created it, don't click the box. Okay. So you want to click on
Oh,
those. Does your message, can a corporate buyer look at your message and say, who is this for? What problem do I solve? Why it
okay.
matters now? Does your
Okay.
offer, is it complete solution or is it one off, right? Like I want you to start thinking about if you were from the corporate buyer side, looking at your content, which one of these could you check off and check
Okay.
off as many
Thank
as you
you.
can and then get your score from there.
Hey, Aaron, just as a heads up, I've moved on in the survey, but when that edit mode was there, you actually eliminated the heading to that line that says name, address, and email or whatever it was.
Okay,
So
that's
I
fine.
remembered what it was, so I put it in, but I just want you to know for future that
Perfect.
you.
Yeah, I'll go back in and fix that one. Just the main question, short answer. I'll go in and fix that.
And then it has my email in it. Sorry, I was the one with the fastest typing.
It's fine. It's, you see, the beautiful thing is you can make a lot of money doing this and you don't have to be perfect. You can screw it up. Okay. I already fixed it. Thank you. And now you have it published. All right.
So
Save.
use the same link.
The second link in the chat has all the correct ones. I don't care about the top one. It's your name and email. That's fine. It's for your own information anyway. So just go through it and take it just check as many boxes that make sense for you, and you'll be good enough. And Lance, I'd love to hear, because you've gone through this before and you've done some of this. I'd love to see what your score is. Lance is one of our students and been in our program, and he's actually going to retake it. That's the beautiful thing about our 12 weeks is a lot of people keep taking it because you get all this stuff defined and you're ready. And then you're like, ooh, if I go back through, I can see maybe some of the gaps that I might have been missed the first time because I was so busy trying to create it. Maybe from scratch. Some people are starting from scratch when they join. So this helps them understand it in depth. Last time we did this, we did a 3-day challenge and we took this assessment, and I think we had 13 people in our challenge, and I think the average was 73%. So I'm interested to see where we're at here too. It always helps us understand where people are in the journey.
Well, and I feel like I'm just in the beginning of the corporate journey. So really, a lot of the answers to each one of these questions is not yet.
Yeah. And that's
And that's
fine.
not really it started. So you have to you have to enter something, but I really feel like my score is way lower than what it's going to be.
Yeah,
So
just check the ones that you have, and then it just gives you, okay, but don't judge yourself. Like, these aren't good and bad. There's no like pass or fail. This is just to see where you are in your corporate readiness, right?
right.
So,
And that's what I'm saying. I'd rather check a box and get a 0 but you can't, it's required to move on. So you have to check something there. But I don't have a lot of these assets already in place. So
yeah. Well, maybe next time I'm going to make the form not required so that then it wouldn't have to do that, so that people could do it. I think the hard thing is it already does required. So I'll fix that. This gives me feedback on my form.
I just feel like I'm giving myself a boosted score when I shouldn't be.
Okay, well, look at it and go, okay, not really. So here's where I'm actually at.
Yeah.
How many check
I'm marking
off?
it as my starting point.
Yes.
Yeah, where I want to start at.
Exactly.
Thanks, Erin.
Mm-hmm. Anyone have their scores? Put it in the thing. Out of 15, how many boxes did you check? Is it 5 out of 15, 10 out of 15, 7 out of 15?
4,
Great.
7,
All right.
4, 7, 8.
8. Yeah, nice, Lance. Love it.
8 for
Do
Malcolm.
further. All right. Well, that gives you, like, listen, like I said, your score isn't good, bad or good, right? This isn't about like pass or fail. It just simply shows you where the structure needs to be added and where our feedback helps you understand what it is you need in order to start pitching and landing larger deals, right? So this is just the insight. This gives you into structural support. Once you see the gaps, effort is no longer the solution, right? It's more about sequencing and implementation. So you don't need more effort. You just maybe need some structure. Maybe you've been trying this and it's a little hard because you've never thought about it through the corporate lens. Like, that was the biggest thing for me when I started, because like I said, no experience in that. But the structure removes the friction. So effort finally works. The next level isn't about more content, it's about guided execution, right? This support collapses timelines, it removes guesswork, and it turns insight into momentum. And that's what we really want to see. And this is where you maybe get some clarity on some of the things that haven't, maybe you're like, okay, I can see that I'm not quite ready yet. What is going on? What's all this falling off here thing? All right, just move away. But it really does teach you some of the things that might be inhibiting your ability to sell inside of corporate. And so we want to remove all that guesswork. And so I am going to go back into the slides for a second. Oh, I'm on the wrong page again. Okay. So this should give you some more ideas. So let's talk more about what you could be doing to raise those scores. I mean, don't feel embarrassed, but know that this is just a starting point. It's like I always say when you're starting a diet, getting on the scale, it's just a starting point. Do not judge it. It's just a starting point. There's only one place to go, right? Let's go. So this is what you will be able to go through. You'll be able to, this 12-week program, you'll be able to earn more with fewer clients, work with Fortune 1000 companies without a contract, like we talked about, selling lots of copies of your book. Even if you don't have a book yet, you could get it done in the 12 weeks, especially using some AI. And if you are to take Stephen's action guide, this is something we've been having people do. Take his action guide and say, hey, based on all my content, make me one based on his model. So that's an easy way to get that done so that you can sell that and make a deeper impact with your champions model. So here's Vered. She joined our group. She was so sweet. I even helped coach her daughter a little bit. She also does some stuff inside of corporate, but it really helped her articulate her own unique value and really set her up for success. Like she was already having some success, but she never thought about all the different models. And so she had one to two offers she was going in with, but during the program, she was able to create more so that when corporate calls, you sit there with your menu of a la carte. This sounds like this would be good to you. What about this? What about this? We could co-create something around this. How would that help? And that's what she was able to do. She created a total offer suite. So let's talk about what you're going to get in this 12 weeks that we do. We talk about positioning and packaging your corporate message. Like I said, it's definitely different than anything you do in entrepreneurship. Crafting your ultimate 50K offers. Outreach, how to learn how to do cold outreach. You even have scripts and templates, but we also teach you how to do research so that it's not a cold outreach. You actually know what the company is looking for, what initiatives are they moving, and how your product or solution can solve that for them. We'll talk about proposals and agreements. We give you all the proposals in many different ways. If you want to be able to lead it in PowerPoint, if you want to lead it in Word, if you want to have it, in a brochure, we help you with all of the templates for that because we've already used them. They already work. Same with the proposal and agreement templates. If you don't have a speaker's agreement for corporate, you need to. And there's specific things that you need to put in there that you might not have in your other ones, right? So you're also going to learn how to sell into corporations, negotiation secrets, selling 150K offers to corporations. I remember the first time I sold a $100,000 program, I was working with this guy and he was in charge of this company that was doing recruiting for some of the biggest tech companies in Seattle. And he's like, I wrote this book. I want to get out there. I want to be speaking and do all these things. And I said, and it'll trickle down to your company. And here's how we do that. But if you're not strategic about it, it won't. So when I got on the call to talk to his assistant, we were talking through what he really wants and what maybe he's thinking. And she said, well, somebody came to us with a $275,000 offer and it just seems too much. I'm like, well, great. Mine's only 100. I'd never sold 100K before in a single call. Right. So, but I saw what the thing was like, well, what if I do it for $100,000? And she's like, oh my gosh, yes. And I said, but here's the things that I'm going to do that's different than theirs. And it's going to be worth way more than that. And they were like, done. It was already a signed deal by the time we got on the call. So selling big ticket offers, the champions model checklist and agreements. You need to know what you need for that. It's not just, oh, here's a train the trainer model. You kind of need to provide them like a business in the box with an agreement, with the licensing, with all the different things that go into that. So you have all of those templates and scripts inside of the course. What you turn into the unpaid event into 5-figure events. Again, we're going to go through each one of those so that you can make sure you're landing those when you do get a conference gig, how to launch your own mastermind inside of corporations. When I go in and do my workshops, I was selling into an $18,000 mastermind. And I had women join me from all the different companies. And the beautiful thing was they were getting each other their jobs. One of my girls, she was like she did all the pricing, global pricing for the European market for Amazon. And she really wanted to work for Google. It was her dream job. And so one of the ladies I worked with at Google said, well, let me introduce you to the person you need to talk to. And she got her hired. She got her dream job. So creating your masterminds inside of corporations is huge, whether it's just sustained within that company or if it's within the same demographic or the same industry with different people from different companies. So here's all the beautiful things you're going to get. We're going to go through the bonuses pretty quickly as well. But I'm also going to share with this on a page so you can see it at the end. But just to kind of see all of the things that we've thrown into this so that you know exactly what you're going to get. And I love Sonia. Sonia joined us. She's gone through 2 rounds actually. And she really loved that when she would come in, she's never thought about workshops to do for ERG groups, employee retention groups. And so when she did that, she started exploding because when you have an ERG group, you have people from all different parts of the company in the room, and then this one can hire for their team and this team and this team and this team or their department, and it's really great. She really took advantage of our corporate office hours and our hot seat time. She even got on one corporate office hour, and there was just the 3 of us. It was Stephen and I and her, and she got a whole hour with us to go over all of her stuff. She said that was worth all of the money that she had spent. So let's talk about who this has worked for. Starting out doing corporate speaking or consulting, if you've had no experience doing it, if you're wanting larger company clients, so maybe you're doing small to medium businesses and you want enterprise, wanting to close more deals. So what we did is we knew we had 2 choices. We could just sell an online course with blah, blah, blah. You could go through it and do all the things. But what we realized, that doesn't add as much value because we can dedicate more feedback, resources, and guarantee your success. That's why we do the group program, and we do it a couple times a year. But we have only we make this very intimate. I'm going to tell you guys, we do not probably go over 10 people, 12 people, because we are dedicating our feedback. We look at every single thing you submit to us and we give you feedback. So it is really amazing on how you can do that, but it's also looking at maybe where you might be ceiling yourself in your own worth. So I know Robin, she was struggling with getting speaking gigs and upping her rates. She was charging a low amount of rates, and with one conversation, she was able to up her rates. That same company was like, okay, great. We love the value you always gave at 75. We know we're going to get even better out of 10. Like, let's go. And sometimes that's what's getting in your way. And I do a lot of NLP work, so I can help clear out beliefs and blocks and things like that, which is also something fun. So if you get stuck in that, we always have an opportunity for you to get off the call and just get on a call with me and do that. But if you have been capping yourself at your own worth, we will handle that inside the program as well. And we have people literally double, triple, or even quadruple their sales because in corporations, it's so much more lucrative and easier to get the things that, those bigger money points, right? So if all this you do the 12 weeks with us and it just lands you 10K speech, is it worth it? What if you could be more stable, predictable income? Would that be worth it? I mean, I know a lot of entrepreneurs are like, give me stability and predictable. And what if you land an 80K champions model? Like I said, start the year off with a 100K contract already, knowing that you already start at 6 figures every single year. That's what we want for you. So you can see why people are paying us $10,000 for a private session for one of each of us, right? On our own. But what if, how long would it take for you to do all this on your own? That was the one thing that took me the longest. It took me 10 years to master all of this because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know who to ask and I didn't know where to find it. And I just started creating it. But mine was about just being really, really humble and asking the corporation, asking the buyer, what do you need? How would you like that delivered? What kind of KPIs? Do you have any other things that you can show me as an example? So I have some things to go from. I'm not a girl that likes an empty page. So if you can give me an example example, that's great. They would openly give me the information, but it takes a long time. So you can see why it's, at the same cost that you would get from recouping your investment and doing one keynote speech. But here's the real question. Is it worth the investment of a few minutes to check out what we're talking about? Because if it does, even half of what we claim, it already pays for itself. So now, oops, I scrolled over it again. So what I'm going to do now is put that into the chat. So give me 1 second so you can look at the page, and then I'm just going to share the page with you. Here we go. Copy, and then put it back in. Oops. Okay. Chat. Okay, so you can follow along with me as you see, because you'll see what the page looks like when you get to that. So we kick off this week. Now, the first week is a kickoff call where we're just talking about expectations, what you're going to learn, what do you need to get ready. The first week is really getting to know everyone in the group, but it's also like what the expectations, where you find all the content, what do you need. Then also at the end of that one, I give you your first homework, which is all about your positioning, your authority, your expertise, your one sheets, your video, all the assets that you already have, and how we make sure that they can sell inside of corporate. So the first week, your homework is gathering all of your stuff. So I'll have a checklist for you to go and get all these things. We take 1 week off in between because this one feels like it takes the longest. Make sure you get all the logos, the places you've spoken. Make sure you get all of your expert positioning, all of the things. So we give you a week off to make sure you get all of that together and get something put down that makes it, maybe you're taking all your entrepreneur stuff and shifting it and just making it into the marketing for that. But we do start on this Wednesday. I'm clicking buttons here. But if you go through this page, you'll see each week onboarding, meet and greet. Then you got a week to get your collaterals together. Then we master your corporate message, craft irresistible offers, dream 50 list, big package design. Then we give you some catch up time to make sure you have all those things done. Then when selling into corporations without a book, or if you want to create an action guide, you can be able to do that during that week. Champions model. Cold outreach and the 5-figure events, mastering negotiations and getting paid, talking about all the ways that you can co-create and find out in the budgets where you can make more money. This is the most important. I don't want you to just have a one-off deal anymore. I want you to expand your services. So that's where we're going to get to do that. And then crafting irresistible consulting proposals. I told you we have the scripts for that. And then here's where we have personal hot seats, scaling strategies, office hours. We have different times where we come in for those hours. The last 3 weeks, we are doing personal hot seats. So you'll each get a hot seat, bring your stuff, and we will go through it. What do you need? What are you struggling with? What are your stuff? What do you want us to look at now? Because we're at the end. We want to make sure you have everything on sailing out onto the seas, right? So if you go down to the bottom, it says all the different things in the bonuses. So you'll see all the bonuses that I'm not going to go over today because I'd rather spend time answering questions. But here you go. Today it's only $9.97 and it's followed by just 4 monthly payments of $9.97. Or if you want a smaller payment plan, you can click the pay in full discount, because after there you'll see Afterpay and Klarna are available in there, and maybe you qualify for that. So maybe your payment would be even less. But make a decision either way. But I always like, if you pay in full, you can go in there and see if the payment options. It still pays us in full, but gives you a lower price every single month. So a lot of people like that. So that's at the bottom of the page. And then again, for those who may be having some questions and some things, I also want to make sure you get time on my calendar again. So I'll put that back into the chat. If there's anything that came up that you're like, I don't know if I'm quite there, or would this work? Would this not work? I'm happy to answer those questions. So just pick a date and time. And then the other thing that I have available, I just built today, because it's going to be a part of our program going forward and a part of, just having opportunities for people as we're going to get moving forward. I have a LinkedIn group I'm starting. Stephen and I are starting, and we're going to start doing calls, and it will be all about talking about what's going on in the industries, what's happening. We'll have weekly calls where you'll be masterminding with other people. Like I said, getting in with other people who are selling into corporate. They can help say, oh, here's your next person. It's Lance. Lance, you take over now. It's your turn to teach, right? So you'll have opportunities for that. So don't forget to join the group, because we'll be doing a lot of things going forward. I just literally had the idea this weekend, and I was like, you know what? This is going to be an ongoing thing, where we meet up once a week and do this. So that'll be great. And you'll be updated on when those are and what's coming and all of that. So now I just, I didn't want to go through all the bonuses because you can see all of those. You can read. I don't need to do that. But I really want to know that let you know that there is a fast action bonus. The very first person who signs up today, Stephen and I will help you sell your first gig. We'll get on the call as your business partners. If you want, we will help you sell it. If that's the struggle that you have, if that's something that freaks you out and stresses you out, we'll be there with you and help you get over the finish line with your very first corporate client. Because I know that feels like the scariest beast. And since Stephen and I've already done it, we love to be able to just be like, hey, let us sell with you. Let us do it for you. And you sit there and take notes and learn exactly how we say it, when we say it, how do we pull the things out of the buyer to find out what they need. All of that. You'll get so much more knowledge. So we do that for the first person that signs up for the corporate accelerator that we start on Wednesday. And like I said, you have between that Wednesday and then what I would say is, you could still join by the end of the week. I would still, you'll be able to get the recording because every session is recorded. It goes back into a Google Drive, so you'll have access to recordings. If you cannot make the record to the event every week, every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. 12 p.m. Eastern time. If you can't, they're always recorded and thrown back in. You will never miss anything out of this. And it's really great. You can always, inside the Google Drive, we have 3 other rounds, I think, recorded in there. So you can go through, and even if it's like, man, I'm really struggling with this, week 5. All right, I'm going to go watch the other week 5s because other people ask questions. Other people have different things that they came to us with. So you could learn something else in there as well. So it is weekly, but you could, if you really wanted to binge listen to a lot of things ahead of time, you really have access to do that. I know I have one client who's thinking that that's what she'd want to do, is just be able to get into the access and just start binging it all and getting through it so she can start getting ahead of it. But I want to just open it up for a few minutes for questions if you guys have. Yeah, the weekly time is Wednesday mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, every single Wednesday for the next 12 weeks. We have 2 break weekends or 2 breaks in there. That's only for you to catch up. But if you just always assume that you just block out every Wednesday, even the days, those 2 weeks that you don't have it, keep that time blocked for yourself to work on the corporate stuff. It's really about time blocking yourself so you make sure you get it all done. Any other questions? You can come off mute, ask any question.
I have to pop off because I'm actually recording on a summit right after this. So I just wanted to thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you to all my crew who's here. I did have one quick question because you guys shared this on the last one and I really liked it, which is just a little bit of a few places where you can connect with these folks. And maybe I might have been away from my computer when you mentioned it, but there were some really great groups that you guys had mentioned. So I'm going to pop off, leave you guys with that potential answer.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks.
Yeah. When you're looking at corporate buyers, there are certain titles that you have. We have a whole list inside the Corporate Accelerator of the titles that you're searching for. We give you in-depth how to research the company, research these people, how to get their contact information, all based on online systems so that you never put it in the wrong place. It is always really great to be able to know who you should be going after and who you should be talking to, so you're not just getting a gatekeeper. So we really go through a lot of that inside of there. And I even have a sheet. I can share the sheet with everyone that joins, because what I'll do is I'll send the recording out today and I'll put the sheet that has some of the names on it just to give you guys some ideas on where you can look. Any other questions? Anyone else have anything? Burning questions, desires, like, hey, I'm struggling with this. or any questions about the program. The other thing I will say is we just did a challenge and we recorded it last week or a week and a half ago. And if you wanted, I'll put that also inside of the email that goes out. The challenge is pre-recorded. It was 3 days. It has a lot of homework. It has some homework in it. It has a lot of resources, but it will, and then it has the a playbook on how to sell your license to corporate, your book, your course, licensing your course to corporate. So I'll be able to, if you want to buy that, that was only $97, but it gives you all of those things as well. So I'll just put that in the thing if you wanted to go and look at that stuff between now and Wednesday or the end of the week. You could do that and be like, okay, now, yeah, I really do need this program because I see that my grade isn't where I want it to be. And I really want to be able to check all these boxes so I can start making six figures inside of corporate deals. Anything else? Just take yourself off mute if you have a question. Let me go back down to see if there's anything else. Hey, Lance, do you want to give us a little feedback on like what you've really loved about this?
I think Dr. Land has a question.
Oh, does she have a question? I can't see anybody with. Okay, there she is.
So I'm just kind of starting out. I'm trying to reposition because I do a lot of quantum work, healing work, but then I also have 30-year high-tech experience. But I think my message, I'm trying to redo everything. And I don't know if my back end and all these stuff, it can all be done like, trying to do the weekly stuff. I'm a little concerned.
Well, you have the recordings, so you actually will have everything you actually need every single week. So there will be, some of these things you probably already have created. You just might not think you have it created, or I could pull it out of you by like, hey, tell me more about this. And boom, you're like, oh, that's all I needed. Right?
Yeah, because my question is that if I just go watch the recording, but then when the 12-week ends, if I'm kind of behind, still doing some of the up subjects,
Yeah.
will I be able to ask questions again?
Yeah.
Or
Yep, you will have us available to you. We really do take, while you're through this, if you're struggling at any time, you're like, book a call with us. We can just jump on and sit with you. If it's during the office hours, jump into the office hours. You get free space to be like, here's where I'm stuck. I need help. And it'll keep you moving so you don't get stuck.
So besides Wednesday, you have another office hour?
Yes, at the bottom it says we have like 3 different office hours, one a month, and then hot seats. The last 3 weeks is we're giving everybody a chance. Okay, it's Dr. Land's turn. Like, what do you got? What are you working on? Where are you at? Like, what do we need from you? And give you personalized feedback.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you look at that, the dates are on that Accelerator. If you go back to that Accelerator link, you can find that so that you can go in and see each one of those and you can block those out. They're on a different day.
I'm still just more concerned about I won't be able to get all the stuff done until those times.
Well, and it's broken down. Each week we're building upon the next week and you're building the assets as we go. So know that you will be kind of handheld through that for each week as we go through it. Okay.
Okay.
And you'll always have access to our calendar so you can jump on and be like, hey, Erin, I'm really struggling with this. Or, hey, Stephen, I think you understand this. Help me with this. Right. So you have access to us. All right.
Okay. Already signed up.
I love it. Lance, do you want to, before we jump out, do you want to say just a few seconds? Because I know you've been through this before.
Yeah, I want to just build on Dr. Landu. Hi.
Hi.
The concerns you have is something I also had before. And what really worked for me is there are really useful resources, a lot of them, in fact. And because it's a weekly thing, it helped me to build the momentum. It also, with the resources, I can pick and choose which one works for me. You see there's like a lot of information that you can pick. That saves me time as well. And then I can reflect on where do I put my energy within the interval, where do I put my energy and build up. What I could also say that after the full 12 weeks, it doesn't mean that I've done all of them, but they are still relevant for me to kind of pace myself on when do I want to implement which part of the training. So the 12 weeks give you a good picture from ideation to meeting your clients and so forth. So it's a full journey. Um, but it gives you, but you can actually pace yourself when you're busy, because I'm the same challenge for me. Very busy. How do I pace myself as I build the business? When do I invest time for my personal learning like this? And where do I meet my clients and engage? So I look at this as an investment so that I'm more effective in using my time with my clients.
I love that.
Okay. So
That helps.
go ahead. And
No.
then Lance has some other things he want to share besides answering my
No.
question.
No, that's the I think that's what I have thought of. Yeah, it's
Okay.
an investment in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have another question, okay? Because I'm at this stage. So when you build everything message, and then because I want to work with corporate client. I just joined Jeannie's group 2 weeks ago, right?
Oh, nice.
So I said it's godsend perfect timing, you guys, right? But the thing is that if a lot of message I build for corporate, would that message still work for like other non-corporate clients? That's my
It
other
does.
question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it
So,
really positions you as this expert and in a
okay.
way that I feel that entrepreneurs don't build in. So it builds you a brand as an expert so that you can translate into other industries, it could be nonprofits. I work in a lot of government agencies where I just did the executive women of the Texas government had me come down and do some stuff, right? So like it can be outside that. I've done nonprofits as well. But the positioning yourself really puts you in that place of expertise and authority.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Anything else from anyone else? Because I know I got a call I got somebody in the waiting room waiting for me right now. I just sent her a message. Well, thank you all for being here. Feel free if you still have more questions, book time with me or Steven in the chat. Make sure you get that. And we would love to have you on our journey with us for the 12 weeks. And we just really want to make sure you have everything you need. Corporate is calling for you to come in and support them. Half of them don't know where to look, don't know where to find you. And I don't want that to be your narrative anymore. So join the group, join us, and I can't wait to see you on other stages. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.